UFC flyweight Ramazan Tamirov, who has a 19-2 record and 2-0 in the UFC with wins over Johnson and Vergara, accepts a 12-month period of ineligibility for a violation of the UFC anti-doping policy. Tamirov tested positive for the presence of TMZ, a drug used to treat heart failure and other cardiac conditions in the class of hormone and metabolic modulators under the UFC anti-doping policy prohibited list. TMZ prohibited at all times under the UFC anti-doping policy. While Tamirov failed to check on the status of this medication before he used it and failed to notify his prescribing doctor that he was a tested athlete, Tamirov did present evidence that he was prescribed a drug for a reported medical condition, that he used the medication for a limited period of time, thus reducing any substantial performance-enhancing benefits. Tamirov's 12-month suspension began on July 5th. That's why his fight on July 26th with Asu Almabayev got cancelled. One guy not happy with this situation is UFC flyweight Charles Johnson, who fought Ramazan Tamirov and lost to Ramazan Tamirov in March. Remember, his interview and excuse for using PED was to clear up his acne from getting staph. Clearly, that's what TMZ is used for, right? It's so ridiculous you can't do shit but laugh at this point. Like I said, he probably cycles on and off with science to not get caught. Unfortunately, the only redemption I'll get back from this is if I get an opportunity to nuke this lollipop kid in a 5-round fight. I'm focused on the task at hand and preparing for what's next. Ramazan Tamirov ended a 4-fight win streak of Charles Johnson, and one of those wins was over Joshua Van, who's fighting for the title next. Such a shame. You'd be on a killer streak, and Charles Johnson said, I'd be the one challenging for the title. Charles Johnson's coming off a knockout victory over Lonnie Kavanagh. Kavanagh had a good first round, but Charles Johnson kept pushing the pace hard, and in round 2, Lonnie Kavanagh started to slow down, and Charles Johnson started to speed up. Kavanagh's pep in his step was no longer there. He didn't have the footwork, timing, and speed, and as a result, he ended up getting caught with a big shot from Charles Johnson and got knocked out and got his first loss of his career. Conor McGregor says him fighting at the White House is a done deal. I don't know if it's a done deal or not, but Dana White seems interested. He keeps talking about how Conor McGregor is so reliable, and he's a guy that he could rely to have on the White House card as opposed to John Jones.
Is this a done deal? You're in?
Done deal, signed, delivered. It ain't a negotiation.
Wow.
It's a done deal, signed, delivered. McGregor will compete in the White House for UFC's 200, for the Americans 250th
Did you talk
birthday.
to Dana about it? Dana's got to sign off, I would imagine, no?
Me and Dana are in constant communications. We've done incredible business together. I'm the highest generating fighter of all time in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. They've just signed a breathtaking deal with Paramount, where we go to cable TV. $7.7 billion that deal was approved for, and ready to rock, baby.
BKFC President David Feldman says he tried signing Nate Diaz, but Nate didn't want to fight in BKFC because he has so much scar tissue. Every time he fights in MMA, he gets all bloodied up because of all the scar tissue he has. So if he did fight in BKFC, yeah, that would be an absolute bloodbath, even more so. Hetcher Sosa, who won on the Contender Series last week, was given a note by Dana White after winning, and Hetcher actually tattooed the note on his arm. He could have just framed the note or something like that, but he felt inspired to tattoo the note on him. It was meant to be inspiring. If you just read it, though, it seems a bit insulting. Be the effing reason why your last name means something one day. But he meant it to be inspiring, but now he has Dana White's name tattooed on his arm, so it's a bit strange, but nonetheless, Hetcher Sosa gets a contract with the UFC, note from Dana White, and new tattoo. UFC fighter AJ Cunningham facing some criticism for posting this image with the caption, "It's better to live one day as a lion than 100 years as a sheep." I guess the implication is the little Nazi boy is the lion, and the 2 kids holding the pride flags are sheep. Cunningham is coming off a loss to Su Young Yu in his last fight via decision. He dropped down to 135 in that fight, but Su Young Yu was able to get takedowns and hold down Cunningham for much of the fight. For 50 clean tests under the UFC anti-doping policy, Dvalishvili gets the jacket. Carlos Prates taking on Leon Edwards next month. He has talked about retiring Prates, but Ian Gary says that Prates told him, I'm going to knock out Leon Edwards, then go for the title and win the title. He actually told me he was going to retire first, then come back, get a load of money to fight me. I don't know why Ian Gary's even revealing a private conversation that he had with Prates, kind of snitching on him about his plan. I'm sure Prates doesn't want to have that put out there, but Ian Gary, for whatever reason, tells people's business that they tell him in private. He's done that in the past. He's a guy you really can't tell anything in private because he's going to broadcast it out there. You got to use him as a guy to put out information you want out there because he's going to put you on blast. But if Prates' plan is to do that, it's probably not a good one. Saw what happened when Henry Cejudo just walked away from the sport and thought the UFC was going to come giving him a boatload of money to come back, but that didn't happen. And Cejudo was a way bigger person in terms of accomplishments at the sport at the time than Prates is. Also, it's not necessarily a conclusion that Prates is going to be the champion or anything like that. If he beats Leon Edwards, he could get a title shot. And if JDM is the champ at the time, maybe that's like a 50-50 fight. Maybe Prates wins the fight because it's a pure striking battle. Nonetheless, the idea that the UFC is going to come running to him to come back to fight after he retires is not going to happen. It's not going to unfold the way Prates wants it to. He'll probably just end up squandering his prime like Cejudo did, who thought the UFC were going to look at him like Khabib and beg him to come back. UFC did not care at all, moved on immediately, and Cejudo wasted his prime by giving up that time. The UFC Qatar card on November 22nd adds Beksat Almahan versus Alexander Topuria, Ilya Topuria's brother. Topuria won his UFC debut against Colby Thickness, and Beksat Almahan is a really dangerous striker. He's coming off a knockout victory over Brad Katona in just over a minute. First guy to ever stop Brad Katona in his 15-year career, so this should be a competitive fight. Maybe even Beksat Almahan is the slight favorite here. Yeah, it'll be a good fight. UFC 320 main card. The fighter odds in the main event, minus 238 favorite is Magomed Ankalaev. He's just coming off a victory via decision over Pereira, so not surprising he's the favorite. Merab Dvalishvili, a minus 375 favorite over Corey Sandhagen. Interestingly, Zalal is a bigger favorite over Emmett than Dvalishvili is over Sandhagen. Zalal, minus 395 favorite over Josh Emmett. Zalal coming off a win over Calvin Kattar. He gained a lot of respect in the first half of the fight where he looked amazing, but in the second half of the fight, he lost all that respect because he just sprinted away from Kattar the entire time. Nonetheless, he picked up the decision. Now he takes on Emmett. Biggest favorite on the main card is Zalal. Prochazka minus 175 favorite over Roundtree. Prochazka pushes a crazy pace and pressure. We'll see if Roundtree can deal with that. If he can fight backwards very well, he might be able to take this fight as an underdog. And kicking off the main card, Magomedov versus Piper. Piper a minus 225 favorite. That should be a competitive, entertaining fight to kick off the main card of UFC 320. Jake Shields upset that his TikTok shop didn't allow him to sell this juice box baseball cap. He says it's kind of hilarious that the TikTok store banned my juice hat. Apparently, juice box is hate speech. Arman Tsarukyan and Dan Hooker, number 2 and 6, headline UFC Doha Qatar show November 22nd. I'll cave his head in is what Dan Hooker says. A lot of people, though, think that Arman's wrestling and grappling will be too much, and he'll be able to, at the very least, win a unanimous decision. Pacquiao versus Rolly Romero, rumored to be next. 46-year-old versus 29-year-old for a title. Doesn't really make a lot of sense.
What's up, guys? Brennan Allen here. Can't wait to be representing Canada in Canada for UFC Vancouver October 18th. I've represented Canada 3 or 4 times in my UFC career, but this would be my first time repping Canada in Canada in front of all you guys. I can't wait to put on a show for you guys. My grandparents on my mother's side are born and raised in Canada. My grandma still has her green card here to America. They're from Edmonton, Alberta area, so I'm super excited. I can't wait to put on a show for you guys. Can't wait to represent, and I'm going to give them hell, man. Can't wait. Thank you guys for the love and support. Appreciate y'all.